This is Chevalier, Chevalier Life, and you're welcoming you back to another episode of Conversations with Chevalier. Tonight's show is going to be an amazing show. I've got a great guest. He is the owner of the Milwaukee Humidor company. That's right, his name is Jason LeGear. And I tell you what, man, I had an opportunity to sit down and talk with this brother for a while, and it was a great time. It was a great time. He's an amazing brother that's doing amazing things within the culture, but his journey, oh man, I get really excited about some of my guests. Well, all of them, but this guy I was really excited just because of who he is and what he's accomplished and the things that he's doing while he's running his empire. So I see he just jumped in. I'm going to send him an invitation in a second to join me. But hey, this is Conversations with Chevalier, where we smoke the cigar, sip the whiskey, sing to the music, and occasionally savor the cuisine. Y'all know I got to talk about my track. The track I'm listening to, I listen to it every show. It's called Won't Let Go by Phillips Martin. Had him as a guest recently. It was a great experience. So we're going to send Jason the invitation. And I'm going to thank you guys for joining me ahead of time. And we're going to send Jason of Milwaukee Humidor Company join us so we can get this conversation started. What's going on, my brother?
Boy, what an introduction.
Hey, man, that's what I try to do. Flip your screen around. Right? We can't see you.
There we go.
There you go. Hey, what's happening, Jason?
How you doing? I can't see you at all, but I can hear you perfectly.
I wonder what's up with that. I see you fine. I'm dancing on the screen.
And what an introduction that was. There's a podcast I listened to, the late Gilbert Gottfried. He had a podcast, and of course he's very much known for having that voice that just kind of gets on your nerves, sort of thing. He plays up into it.
That's the voice that gets on your nerves.
Tony squints the whole time. But he has a podcast, and I tell everybody who listens to me. It's by far the best podcast that has ever existed in the interview format for, people who are famous, people who are not famous, things like that. Just kind of people who exist in Hollywood, songwriters, screenwriters, actors, directors, people who just come on and talk about trivia. I cannot recommend it to you highly enough. It's something like 600 episodes. Go through there, pick out a name that you recognize, listen to it. You're going to be rolling on the floor laughing by the end of it. But
I got to do it. I was a big fan of his back in the day.
Then you'll absolutely love his podcast. But I say that because one of the ways that they generally start every show is he and his co-host Frank Santopadre. They go through somebody's credits, everything from the very most minuscule thing that they hadn't thought about in 40 years up to, they spend 4 minutes just talking about these people's credits. And every time that somebody comes on, after their introduction, they laugh and they're like, okay, well, that could double my obituary.
Well, I try to do my guests justice. I'm generally excited when I have people on the show, because it's a great time to have a conversation over a cigar, a little whiskey, and just talk about the journey, man. Like, we could talk about cigar blends, we could talk about so many things, but the journey is what tells the real story, and I think it gives us an appreciation for where you are today, and the notoriety and the fame and the accomplishments that you have today. It kind of gives it a little more substance when they know where you started from.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess, man, where I started from, I got a long journey. But I guess let's start all the way back at the beginning. I should not be a professional woodworker. What I should be is a kindergarten teacher over in Germany.
Why?
Because that was well, okay. So you and I talked a couple weeks ago, and I said I have my story goes back even further than what you and I talked about. And so I told you I was going to save it for the show, but my original career was I was a kindergarten teacher for about a decade. before any of this. Exactly. And a large portion of that I did over in Germany. I ended up getting my degree in German. I was working with kids in the meantime and ended up, finding a passion for, I like working with young kids. I like being over in Germany, things like that. Let's turn them into a career. So I ended up selling all my possessions, getting a job, moving over there. And then it turned out I got lied to about that job.
Wow. So,
which was crazy.
Okay, because when you first said that, I was like, so is he an Army brat or something?
No, no, I am not. No, obviously no, no. But so that was in a grade school, and then I ended up getting transferred over to a kindergarten. I was there for 2 years and absolutely loved it. And then just because of foibles with your visa, things like that, I ended up not being able to renew my work permit. I didn't have a kindergarten teaching license that I needed. So it was like, all right, well, do you come home? Do you go back and get that teaching license sort of thing? So I ended up coming back to the United States. Worked a couple odd jobs, taught over, we have a German immersion school here in Milwaukee. So taught there for a little bit. And I ended up getting married. And for the first Christmas that I spent with my wife, my father-in-law gave me, the word we're living together now. He gave me a drill and a circular saw. Just like, hey, you can probably use these things around the house. Well, I'd always been interested in art, and I started using tools and woodworking things to create small pieces of art, small pieces of furniture, little knickknacks, that sort of thing. And enjoyed it enough that I kept buying more tools, and I kept, wanting to spend more and more time in my shop, just trying to figure out what is it that I am doing? What is it that I'm using these tools to accomplish in terms of what my art is? And fast forward years and years down the road, I ended up getting a job running a woodworking facility, a cabinetry shop here in Milwaukee. Wow. The job itself was very interesting. The place I worked at was full of people that did not like me, and I did not like them. And we'll leave it at that. Yeah, but the job itself, the job itself was really, really interesting. And it gave me enough knowledge, enough skill to be able to, again, just continue working on my art in private at home. And then COVID hit. COVID hits. And the rest of the world shuts down. Right. Me and my crew, we went up to 12-hour days. So, which was okay because, there wasn't a whole lot else going on. So it was just like, all right, well, let's get in there, let's get our money sort of thing. Well, throughout the course of those, 2020 to 2021, I ended up just, losing more and more parts of my crew. We started out as, a dozen guys. And by the time I left in March of 2021, we were down to 2 of us. Me as the guy who was, running the thing, and then one other guy who, worked with me. And I'd lost everybody else, but they were keeping, they kept wanting us to be producing at the exact same rate as when we had 6, 7 people, which was absolute.
Yeah, that wasn't going to happen out during COVID.
No, well, not period. You can't squeeze blood out of a rock. That's not how that works. Yeah. So March of 2021 comes around. I get so fed up. I say, I'm out of here. That's it. I didn't necessarily have a plan, but I had already been planning on leaving and trying to go solo and full-time myself, probably in June of that year. But just due to some circumstances, March came along, and I said, you know what, we're going to do this a couple months early. So I jumped out of there. I had a little bit of savings and a lot of time. So I was getting up, just, continuing to work on my craft and, building up part of my shop. At that point, I moved my location for my shop. Where my shop is now is that my wife have a house from the 1800s that used to be a bar, but it's divided into a front section and a back section. So like in the 1800s all the way up into, I think it was like the early 2000s is the last time it was a bar. The proprietor would live in the back and then run the bar out of the front, real old school kind of stuff, the Polish people and the Germans. So anyway, I ended up moving my shop into what formerly was the bar. So it's the front half of my house. and just kind of renovating it. And I'll take you guys on a little bit of a tour here in a bit. It's
Okay.
extremely messy, but it's extremely messy. But that's what an artist studio looks like. So I was doing that, and because I've been working in this cabinetry shop, I've been working with, just really big stuff the whole time, entire cabinetry build-outs, bar build-outs, things like that, throwing, 10-foot, 12-foot, 16-foot pieces of wood into machines all day, every day, 12 hours at a time. And my reaction to that was to start making smaller things. Again, just knickknacks. I tried my hand at, turning bowls, things like that. But the thing that really caught me was I really like making boxes, which, can kind of sound funny, right? As like a thing that you don't think about it, but you think about that in terms of like, oh, somebody made my dining table. You don't necessarily think that, okay, somebody made my box. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I got really, really good at making boxes. And a few people over the, even before I went solo and full time, had been asking me to make humidors. I said, absolutely, I will give my hand at it. Looked up some resources on it, said, okay, let's give this thing a shot. So even before I struck out full time, I've been making humidors probably since 2019. But since 2021, I've really focused in on it. I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of people who give me a good sense of artistic freedom in terms of the things I'm making, while also making a really functional object that they get to use in their everyday practice with their cigars.
Let me ask you.
You're a man
something.
who, what's up?
I got a question for you. Before you go into that, I want to ask you something because I was thinking about this the other day or a couple of weeks ago when we talked on the phone. What would you say in your younger life that you can look back on that maybe may have been that seed to the creativity that you have? Because I know for me, a lot of it was watching my parents, my dad particularly, he used to teach martial arts, but he was also a model when he was younger. And I remember seeing him and it made me want to, at a certain age, I started like thinking back, okay, it's time for me to start doing some of the things that dad did. I need to dress a little different. And as I got into the cigar culture, I really started paying attention. But it was that little seed from my dad, the things that he did in his spare time that kind of, created Chevalier life, which
Okay.
Chevalier is my middle name. I think I told you that. And so
You did.
was there something that you remember when you were a kid that you can reach back to and say, this creativity was always in me?
I mean, the creativity is always there. Ask anybody who's an artist. No matter what their medium is, they go back. I can't picture. I can't bring you back to a single one instance. It's always been there. But I will bring you to another instance here, and that is, I was talking with you a couple weeks ago. About one teacher that I had in high school. We were talking back and forth about a couple teachers we had in high school.
I remember that.
Exactly. I have a teacher who was extremely influential to me in high school, and she was my German teacher. And so she's actually influenced both paths of the careers that I've taken. Number one, she influenced me to go be a kindergarten teacher over in Germany. But then in our senior year, we ended up having a series of classes on art and art movements of the early 20th century. And that was the first time that I got exposed to a bunch of the art from the Bauhaus movement, which you have Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, you have Vasily Kandinsky, you have Pierre Mondrian, you have all these guys who are essentially, they're going in there and they are taking, if you picture, art at the turn of the century, it's a lot of things that are very, very complicated, very floral, things like that. The Art Nouveau series.
Okay.
But then, if you think about Art Deco, where it's all those clean lines and it's dark and it's gold and things like that, essentially, that's a reaction to the very floral things of the Art Nouveau style. And Bauhaus was something that moved contemporarily after that, a reaction to a lot of things that are very ornamental. We're going to take away the ornament and we're going to focus simply on the function. And then on the function, we're going to be exploring three things. We're going to be exploring color, we're going to be exploring form, and we're going to be exploring line. And so those are three things that it's a very geometric sort of approach to art. And that's something that I was exposed to my senior year of high school in 2005, and it never left my brain. I've been doodling with it for years. I've been trying to take photos with it for years, in that sort of aesthetic style, and never was quite able to connect with it what exactly was in my head, what exactly was in my heart as an artist, until I started doing woodworking, and especially until I started making boxes and humidors.
Wow. And that's interesting, because I looked at some of your designs, and I mean, everything that you just described, I can see different aspects of that, on the top of the boxes. And I was like, man, I got to talk to this guy, because, I do some similar stuff. And, while I'm not a woodworker, I have my own genre of creativity
Absolutely.
As it relates to the cigar humidors. And I love what you do, man. I think there's some things that I noticed, some abstract art in there, and I'm no artist, but there's a few things that I'm familiar with, and I really like that. I really like the subtle designs that you have. They're subtle yet contemporary, and it's really cool. It's really cool.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I really like that. I admire it a lot. I can't wait to see one of them live. But how did you? You clearly you decided you were going to pair your art with your creativity in woodworking. How did you connect with the cigar culture so fast?
Again, well, you know what? I've always enjoyed smoking cigars. I haven't necessarily been an aficionado until the past couple years, but that's something that I was exposed to when I started in college. I lived in a house with a few people, and one of the women there, she smoked cigars. And anytime that we, would have a party, she'd, get a couple, and she'd get one for me. And we'd be standing outside, for half the night, just standing around, laughing, having a good conversation, having a cigar with each other. And that was really where I started by enjoying them.
Yeah,
it's that community aspect.
Yeah, I like that. And that's one of the things that drew me in. And it's just like you talked about that pivotal moment, I think, for all of us in the last 10 years was COVID. And we all started kind of finding or identifying our passions or, our journeys that we're about to go on. When COVID hit, it seems like everybody started doing something a little bit different because they had time to be creative.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's the thing is a lot of people had time to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And I did it. I created Chevalier Life during COVID because, hey, I had cigars, I had a phone and a camera, and I started taking pictures, never knowing that it would morph into what it's become now. I never knew that it would grow the way that it did. And I never imagined that it would become a passion. So I'm kind of thankful for that time during COVID where I was able to really sit. Because my problem was, I don't know about you, I think you were probably busy like me, but I never sat down, man, and really focused on any one thing. I did what felt good for the moment, and then I moved on. But COVID forced me to really take a look at, the things that I'm doing and really, really start to focus on one or two things that I really like, to really pay attention to it. And so it's pretty cool. Is that kind of what your experience was when you started with the boxes?
Everything minus the COVID part, yes. Because again, that specifically, because again, when COVID hit, the shop that I was working at, we went up to 12-hour days. So it was essentially, I got to be at the shop at 6 a.m. I'm leaving at 6 p.m. You get home, you eat some food, you go to bed, that sort of scenario. But still, even just doing that, for a year and a half straight, every chance that I had, because I was working so much, every chance that I had, I wanted to go and keep creating things. So I guess it wasn't necessarily that I had the free time, but there was something about, why not? Now's as good a time as any. And if I'm going to be exploring this, let's absolutely explore it. Let's jump in head first. Let's jump in feet with both feet and make sure that we're doing it rather than half measures. Like if you're trying to cross a street and you get halfway across and then you sit down in the road, you're going to get run over by a car. So what
Exactly.
you got to do is you got to cross the street all the way. If it's not in you to cross the street all the way, I'm not talking about people with hobbies. Hobbies are one thing, but if you're going to be trying to make this a passion, a life's work sort of scenario, you got to cross that street the entire way.
Right. Right. And it doesn't take much planning. It just takes effort and determination to make sure you get from one side to the other.
Oh, I disagree. I think it absolutely takes planning. Now, effort and determination are extremely big parts of that, but like jumping into something like being your own small business owner, being your own boss
Yeah.
without any kind of a plan is something I would not advise. And the good news is I had most of a plan. I did not have an entirety of a plan. I had most of a plan, but yeah, I would actually turn that back on you. You were saying, you're an artist, and I would say you were talking about your fashion style as well. There are a lot of people out there, and a lot of people in the cigar community that do approach fashion as a form of art. How would you say that you tie in the two of those things together? Your sense of fashion, your sense of art in the cigar community.
Well, I tried to figure out what was most artistic and creative for me as it related to fashion, art, cigars, and music, ironically. So when I started
Mm-hmm.
doing the thoughts of a classic man, I never really did a lot of pictures of myself. I didn't do that. And so over time I would write my thought. It's a form of journaling that I do every morning, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I would do this, and I remember I would take just a picture here in the backyard, I mean, I might have got off work. I worked for General Motors in my day job, and so I would get off work and I'd just light up a cigar and I'd throw my Ring camera up and I'd take a picture. And then one day I decided, man, I'm pairing these nice smooth jazz songs. I'm sharing my thoughts, and each song when I would do this, I would just it would be whatever came to mind. But if it evoked a certain level of passion that kind of paired with the thought I was sharing, then I would
Write
I
that
would
down.
yeah I would just post it. And then I started taking pictures when I do it. Like I would take pictures every day because I was smoking every day. I started going in and grabbing clothes out, something casual like maybe a hoodie, or in the summertime a t-shirt and a nice cap or a polo shirt.
Sure.
And I would sit here and I would try to create a look. I might take 200 selfies and delete them all. But I find that one and I create a look. I pair my thought with it and put a song in it. Over time, I just kept doing it. I kept doing it,
Okay.
man. And then
Okay.
shit started looking good, and it became like
Absolutely.
my art.
You are a gorgeous man. I don't think that any of us are going to fight you on that one too hard.
I don't know about
All
that,
right.
man. I'm an old man, man. I'm an old man.
All right, but okay, so you were talking about you go and grab something, you take 200 selfies, you find one that where everything ended up working. Nowadays that you've been doing that for a few years at this point, do you think you got a better idea of what to wear, how to set up the shot or anything, or is it still kind of, hey, I'm going to put this on, go take a few pictures, see how I like them, and then go put this on, take a few pictures, see how I like them? Like, what's your planning process versus how much of it is just free form and you go and I like it, I don't like it?
A lot of it is free form. A lot of it, I would say 80% of what I do on the Chevalier life side is free form. Every thought, I don't write any thoughts the night before. When I get up in the morning, whatever I'm thinking about, I'll jot it down. And when I get in the truck, I start putting it together, and on the, I see Ray's in there talking about my old man stare on every picture that cracks me up every time he does that. But a lot of times, man, I did my first photo shoot in 2021, right?
Mm,
First time I ever did something, a professional photo shoot. That's what said, okay, it's time to start paying more attention. But most of the time, it's just whatever I'm wearing. The intentionality comes, I just make sure that I'm matching, and I'll put on something based on how I'm feeling. It's just how I'm feeling, but I pay a little more attention now. I'm like, okay, the backyard looks nice. Let me make sure that I'm trimmed up. Let me make sure I got a nice shirt on. I never plan any of it, man. Any of the pictures that you see, unless I'm out somewhere, I never plan anything. I just take the shots, I edit them up, and then I post them. And it's something that, with the right verbiage and the right music, man, it seems to inspire and it feels good to do it. I just roll with it just like that.
So I
I'm
would say
never
that
intentional that way.
I would say then that your form of artistry then there is you're kind of like a playwright. You're kind of like a screenwriter. You're putting together a scene for somebody. You're taking them from a journey. You're telling a story from part A to part B to possibly part C. You're taking them through somewhere like any good writer does, except instead of it being, words on a page, it's a multimedia sort of process. Is that
Right.
correct?
That would be the exact way to describe it. And the one thing that I have to say about it, bro, is that it just has to feel good. Some people
Yeah.
can say a certain look looks good, but if it looks good and doesn't feel good to me, it's not gonna make the cut. And I mean,
Yeah.
we're not talking about a whole lot of work. I walk in the house and grab something, throw a cap on, and play the music and sit back here like I did a vibe the other night. I had no idea I was gonna do that. I came out here to smoke, and I had some music playing, and I heard a song that I love. I paused the song, went in the house, grabbed a hoodie, put a cap on, and came out here and just started talking. And it all
There you
just
go.
came together the way it needs to. And I think
There you
doing
go.
that and being consistent, you find your audience and people see that, they love that, and it resonates. But I don't do it for the audience. I do it for me. It's something
Yeah.
that I need. I need that to take me to that place I'm trying to get to as it relates to relaxing and finding peace. I need that for that. I need it for that.
Hell yeah! Now, of course, you're down in Houston, so you have the luck of having weather that's pretty good all
Hell
year
no,
round.
I'm in
Except for
Dallas.
oh, I'm
Dallas,
sorry,
bro.
I'm so
Look, hey, you told me the other night when we were texting, you said, I'm gonna be interviewing you. I'm interviewing
Yeah.
you too. This is a conversation though. This is a conversation. Well, go ahead. I'm in
Of course.
Dallas.
Well, I was gonna say, so you're in Dallas, you're in Texas. Texas
Did I lose
generally,
it?
except for
Oh, there you go.
the Texas, except for generally, what is it? End of July, the entire month of August, and then a little bit of September. So Texas is nice, especially during the winter, because you can kind of dress however you want, and that's just kind of how it is, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it was 65 degrees today.
You
Christmas. They're forecasting 60 degrees on Christmas.
you poor
82
poor
degree
thing.
Christmas.
I had a high today at 27.
Man, Dallas, they always say the weather here is schizophrenic because it'll be
sure.
1 minute it's 32 degrees, the next minute it's 83, the next day it's 55. So
Sure.
you'll have pneumonia. But I got heaters. I got a covered patio back here, so I got a place that I can smoke year round as long as I can flip some heat on or put a fan out here in the summer. I'm good as long as I got my leaf and a little whiskey. I'm good to go, man.
See, now I'm jealous of you for that because I do not smoke inside my house. I do not smoke inside my shop. I will go out on my porch, or I will go into my backyard, enjoy a cigar, something like that. So during the winter months, it's a lot of if I'm gonna have a cigar, I'm gonna go walk my dog and have a cigar, and maybe not necessarily picking up anything that's super duper fine that I've been saving for a special occasion, because there's a good chance it's not gonna necessarily make it home all the way with me. My dog only wants to walk for 35 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that. So it's a lot of short smokes. That's why I enjoy the Coronas a whole lot. I can get 2/3 of the way through it, and if I don't make it through that final third, I'm happy about it.
Man,
But-
I'll run through a Corona and I'll sit back here for a while and I might smoke another one.
Yeah. Oh,
right
yeah.
now-
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm smoking a cigar from one of the local brands here, one of the local shops, El Jefe Cigar Lounge. It's one of his hand-rolled Maduros that he has. He calls it the Maduro 7. And
Very
it's
good.
a great cigar, really great cigar. And I'll tell you what, I just, everything that I do, I'm searching for a feeling. I don't have a purpose. When I come out here, if I decide to take pictures, for every one day that I'm taking pictures, I can give you 5 that I didn't even pull the camera out here.
That's all right, man.
It's all about
that's part of the process.
Is that how you did with when you started Milwaukee Humidor Company? Is that kind of where you were? Was it more about passion first versus creating a business that you could make money from, or was it
Oh
more
no.
about, hey, I'm ready to do this thing and make it profit?
Both and neither. I would say that. Well, no, that's the truth. It's both and neither. Because again, I was planning on quitting my job in June, and I ended up doing it a couple months early. Now I was ready in a certain sense, but also just kind of scrambling a little bit. Like, okay, cool, let's get this business going off the road. So it was essentially taking every single job that possibly came in and saying yes to it. It was making a lot of my own goods to go sell at street markets.
Hmm.
At that point, it was a lot of simple production. And I took on furniture clients. I took on people who wanted board games. I took on people for one of the local universities around here. They wanted platforms for a dance recital. You got it. I am more than happy to make you platforms for a dance recital. It was saying yes to everything, getting a little bit of money to reinvest in the business, making sure that I was able to pay my bills every month. I've had to get a couple side jobs now. I haven't had to have a side job for a little while, which has been really, really nice. But you got to do what you got to do.
Right,
But
right.
in terms of that, in the meantime, of trying to just get every single job you possibly can, make the money, pay my mortgage, make sure that we got food, things like that. There was also, sneaking in projects in here where it's more of something to explore the design process, to explore what it is my art is. There's something in my head, there's something in my soul that's got to get out. How is it that I'm going to get it out? Is this getting it out? Is this scratching the itch? Not necessarily. Well, let's try this over here. Let's try this over here. Until I did land on, making boxes. And I have been making them for years and years and years and done all kinds of different designs, things that are extremely artistically interesting and things that are, four sides, top and bottom.
Hmm. But you also did one that I found particularly amazing, and that was the box you created for J.C. Newman, man. Tell us about that one, the
Which
baseball box.
one?
I think it's the baseball box. The
I,
baseball box, the one that looked like a, because there was I don't want to tell it because I did my due diligence on it, but
oh
like
goodness, you can
I
you
want.
can you can talk you can talk all about it. You tell me what I do.
So I heard that where they got the wood from, was it an old? It was the old gym floor or something that they got the wood for that.
You're mixing up two things. So I've
Okay.
done two projects for JC Newman. The
Uh huh.
first one was in 2023 where I ended up down in Tampa for an art festival. And before I went down there, I ended up emailing a whole bunch of cigar shops saying, "Hey, I'm a humidor maker. I'd like to come by show off what I can do." And I believe it's the one because Corona Cigar is very tied in with JC Newman down there. And so I sent one to them, just kind of blind, and I believe that it's probably them who kicked it up to JC Newman. So I get an email back from them saying, "Hey, yeah, come on by. We'll take a look at what you got. Good stuff."
Hmm.
When I showed up to show them my humidors, they said Drew and the other guy who works there with him essentially said, "Yeah, these look great." And they pulled out a piece of flooring, like tongue and groove flooring,
Right.
made out of maple. It's got some like lacquer and stuff on it. And they said, "This is a piece of the 2011 NBA All-Star Game court floor. Do you think that you could make a
Wow.
humidor out of this?" I
Wow.
said, "Yeah, absolutely." And they'd apparently been talking with a few other humidor makers who had turned them down for whatever reason. But having that cabinetry background, I'd done a whole ton of stuff with flooring previously. I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I can take that." You eventually cut it into very thin veneers, and then you apply them on the outside. So that was the first project I did with JC Newman. And then the second one was the one from this year, which is maybe the best project I've ever done.
Tell me.
And that is what's called the home run humidor.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the one I'm talking about.
Yep. And I have a couple remaining with me. because they did not make the cut. Unfortunately, a couple things went a little haywire with the two of them, so they did not make the cut for the final ones. But this is one of them right here. So you can see all this wood right here. JC Newman sent me 100 baseball bats. I said,
Really?
hey, can you make round baseball bats, game used baseball bats, and said, hey, you know what? Are you able to make a humidor out of baseball bats? And I said, well, this one I don't know. It's going to be a little trickier, but we're going to try. Baseball bats are notoriously round, so getting those slices of wood out of there are a little bit more difficult because you don't necessarily have a flat surface.
Right.
So this is where all my skill as a woodworker and a craftsman came into play, to be able to take those baseball bats, cut them into very, very thin sections, maybe the width of about thickness of about 3 sheets of paper, and then apply them to this humidor. So you can see right there, all that wood used to be baseball bats from game-used bats from a professional baseball team.
Wow.
So, absolutely. And now I had the brilliant idea to turn it into something that's the shape of a home plate. Let me tell you, that was a nightmare.
Yeah, because I can't even imagine how you can take baseball bats and make that smooth, solid surface out of baseball bats.
I have some pictures up on my Instagram that showed a whole bunch of parts of the process. But essentially what you do is you cut the bat in half, and then once you have the bat cut in half, then you have a flat surface, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then from that flat surface, I can come over here to my bandsaw. So this is a very important tool for making veneers. So, of course, this thing right here is called a fence. You can put a flat surface up against it, bring it through there, blade cuts it, and then just keep doing that slice by slice by slice, and that's how you make veneers from just about anything. The trick with the baseball bats is then just you have to do it from a round state to begin with, so that you do have that flat surface. It's a bit of a technical process, but it wasn't too bad once I figured it out.
Wow.
Yeah, so this one right here is unfinished, but you can see, so it opens up. We have nice American-made brass hinges in there. And now there would be, if this was a completed one, there would be a whole bunch of Spanish cedar in here. There would be, a boveda holder, things like that. But considering where I got to in the process on this guy, I kind of screwed something up. So I said, we'll use this one here as an example to showcase if somebody's asking about it.
Wow. And you know what? For somebody like me that's not a trained eye, I wouldn't be able to tell what that was. Like looking at this put there, I wouldn't be able to tell. As most people would look at that and says, "Man, that's ingenious right there. It's beautiful."
I will tell you, it's because I haven't showed you what's wrong with it, and I'm not going to. But
yeah, don't ruin my vibe. I love it, man. I love it, and that's one of the things that I love about this culture, man. We have an opportunity to take our talents, to showcase them, and it kind of reinforces and ignites passion within the culture for whatever genre of the cigar culture we're in. My thing is cigars and conversations like we're having here, music, and my journaling, my thoughts of a classic man. Yours, you do it with your wood and the amazing art, and I hope that we get a chance for everybody to see a couple of the designs that I've seen on your page with just the artistic designs, those images that you have on there, man. When I look at them, I'm like, how the hell did he come up with those?
Failure. That's not a joke. Like, the best way to figure out what it is you want is by ending up with a ton of things that you do not want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
like, okay, so let's say that you are writing down your thoughts of a classic man, you're journaling. But your journal isn't just for yourself necessarily. It's going into a public forum, so you think about it, I'm sure. So I'm sure that you edit yourself as well. You'll write something down and you go, that's not quite what I mean. That's not quite what I'm trying to sound, how I'm trying to express this idea here. So you edit it. right?
Right.
Or do you
Maybe
just
once
kind
or
of,
twice.
do you never edit?
Every now and then I edit. Not
Okay.
much. Not much. If I do 7 of those, I may have edited 2. And most of the time the edits are really, is really a simple edit, changing a comma from one spot to another. Because that can change the whole meaning of a statement depending on
Sure.
certain areas. And so, I'm really particular about reading over it 2 or 3 times before I post it. But a lot of times, I'm not worried about if it makes sense to anybody else. It's just got to make sense to me. And I've always felt like if it's real, it'll resonate. If it's because it's my true feelings. It
I
only makes
understand
me a
that.
lot of things.
I
So if it's
understand
real, it
exactly what you're
resonates.
talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Because
how I feel about
so much of what I do is it's something that I make for myself,
it.
and it's sort of the same process. If somebody else is going to get it, they're going to get it. If they don't, they don't. That sort of thing. And I guess I hadn't thought about it that way in a while. I was talking more about, in terms of editing myself, how many things I've made that just haven't turned out the way that I want them to. So I just keep refining and refining until I am able to get something that I'm looking for. But also, I think that's a good way to approach art, and to approach art and just to approach life in general is, I am doing what works for me, and
Exactly.
if others are getting it, that's wonderful. If they're not, at any rate, it's working for me. I'm getting it, and that's certainly a powerful way to live your life.
Yeah, everyone's not your audience. Everyone's not your group. Everyone's not your circle. And when you find your circle, I've always believed that when you find your circle, you find a good thing. Like the Bible says, when a man findeth a wife, he findeth a good thing. When you find your circle, it's the same thing, bro. You because as you're totally refining, you're doing things, you're putting the effort in, and let me keep it simple. A lot of times I throw shit at the wall and I look at what sticks. You
Yep.
know, and a lot of times I'll look at certain things that I post and I'll read it and then I'll go back a couple hours later after I post it and I'll go back and look at it and I'll be like, damn, I didn't even think it. Like there's something about it that reveals it. Like I didn't even think about it that way. Or I'll look at the comments maybe around 10 a.m. and people will be sending me things in my inbox and they're like, some people rather will comment in the inbox and they'll say, hey, this, I was going through something and that thought took me to this place. And I'm like, man, I wasn't even in that area when I was thinking about that. I wasn't there, but it gives me another perspective. And so a lot of times now I don't edit myself as much. I make sure that, I just try to say what I'm saying. And if it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, cool. But I got my meaning and I got that off my chest for the day, you know.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's one thing that people talk about in terms of art.
Hmm.
In terms of people who are painters or woodworkers or writers such as yourself, is there something in you that needs to get out? There's something about us
Yeah.
that people who are not artists don't necessarily have, where there's something in you that needs to get out, and if it doesn't get out, it eats at you, and you can resist it, but it will come out one way or the other, and that's the only way that you're going to be able to find some peace.
That's man, you just described it perfectly. About 4 a.m. every morning I wake up and the first thing I do is reach over on the nightstand and whatever I'm thinking when I first wake up, I jot it down. And sometimes, Jason, it doesn't make sense. I would compare
This
that to
year
saying
this year
art.
says this year says cheese dragon. What did I mean?
Uh-huh. And then after I get dressed, I'm like, cheese dragon. Uh. And for some reason, by the time I've gotten dressed, packed my lunch, and walked out of the
Mm-hmm.
house about 4:45 a.m. When I'm driving to work, I'll grab my phone and I'll just start talking, and
Yep.
then and then I'll go in there and edit it a little bit, and then throw a picture with it, put a song with it. In about 20 minutes, you got my thought of the day. And I never know what is. Very rarely do I know what it's going to be unless I've experienced something that night before that I can't get out of my head. And so I'll do that. But other than that, it's very random. And of late, a lot of my thoughts are about brotherhood, like I wrote about today, the cigar culture versus community. That's like my thing right there, man. There's just so many things I love about this culture, and so
Yeah,
many things
that's what I
I
was
hate
gonna
about it.
say
Yeah, it's
was
so many
that
things.
your the direction you go with a lot of those thoughts is no, it's very positive. It's very I don't want to say uplifting because positive and uplifting, those are two
They're the
words that
same.
they're over, well, no, they're just overused.
Yeah,
It seems like they're motivational. That's the word I'm looking for. Is you have very positive, you have very motivational thoughts, and you're talking to yourself, but you're also talking to everybody else. I think that's a
yeah.
wonderful thing.
Well, I tell you what, when I first looked at your page, no bullshit. When I first looked at your page after we had our conversation, I was motivated. I think I wrote about dedication that next day after we had the conversation a couple of weeks ago. I had just got back from Detroit, I think, and I wrote about dedication because I was thinking about you and what we talked about. And, what you told me on the phone when I was texting you, you said, I got to put the baby down. And so I laughed about that. And
I
then I
did have to
thought
put the
about
baby down.
yeah, put the baby down. And so even when we were talking about the show, you were like, well, I try to put the baby down by about 7. You guys are an hour ahead of us here. So, you get the baby down about 7. And that stayed in my head. And so the next day when I was writing, I was like, there's a certain level of dedication that one has to stay on task, on track to be successful. And some people don't really look at that. They don't look at themselves to see some of the simple things that they do in life that help them or put them in that place to have that dedication, that consistency. And so when I was thinking about that when you kept saying, yeah, because I have to put the baby down, it was something about you saying that. For one, it stood out to me because you don't hear a lot of men. I'm sure there's a lot of men that do things like that and they take care of the baby because you take care of the baby. Like
I take care of my daughter.
you're the primary parent, basically. And
Well, that I would highly disagree with. I would say
I'm trying to get
I
some
would
head
not.
props out of you.
You're
We gotta
trying to
get
you're
some
trying to
head
get me in
props.
trouble. No,
No, yeah, I don't
no,
want to do that. I want your wife to be like, "What you tell him?"
no. She would never. But I mean, I would disagree that I'm the primary parent.
Uh,
It's just my wife works during the day and I work at night. So
yeah,
during the day, I take a lot of care of my daughter, and then during the evening, I also, I take care of our house as well. I cook for our family. I very much enjoy cooking. I'm a very good cook. So stuff like that. And then my wife gets off of work. We hang out together and whatnot until it's time to put the baby down. And then she takes one night, and then I take the next night. And then she takes one night, and then I take the next night. And so, like for instance, last night I had to go put her down. So tonight, my wife, while you and I are having this conversation, she's putting the baby down. And so then once that's done, that's when I'm able to come in and start work. And since having a kid, I feel like work is a lot more focused. I was able
that
to
was
just
my
kind
next
of,
question.
yeah. Well, because
That's my
there's
next
now there's only so much time. I don't have
question.
the entire day and the entire night to be able to work.
Right.
I have the evening to be able to work. So it's a lot more focused. I have to have a much stronger game plan when I show up in the shop as to what exactly I'm trying to accomplish that night. Now, that's, to be said, there are also there's definitely times where it's like I've been working on this thing for 2 months straight or 3 weeks straight, something like that. I need to take a little break, and I will spend a night just screwing around and drawing stuff out, and then taking it and turning it into some designs. Like here, hold up one sec, I'll grab something.
Got to see it.
I've Yeah. So I did. Now that we're towards the end of the year, I am almost out of projects for the year. I'm making a couple things for people for Christmas and whatnot, and I decided to play around with a little bit of design, and so I've been making bookmarks.
Oh wow. And see, there's that art that you got. I don't know whether to call it abstract. I don't know what to call it, but your use of circles and squares and rectangles. I love it,
It's
man. I don't know what
and
do you call that?
it's color, form, and line. Those are the three principles of the Bauhaus movement: color, form, and line. We're going to play with color, we're going to play with form, we're going to play with lines, and just see how they all intersect. And so, this is kind of a micro. This is a microcosm. Hey, what's up, Justin? This is a microcosm of what it is I do. So, okay, I'll use this as an example to jump into some of my humidor stuff.
Yeah.
So
there we go. That's what I'm waiting on.
all right. So this, for instance, is one of my dry boxes. I'll tell you all about modern dry box here in a little bit. But this right here is, if you're not familiar with the term marquetry, what I am is I'm a professional woodworker, professional humidor maker, but more so than all that stuff is I'm what's called a marquetrist. And a marquetrist is somebody who does fancy wood inlay, which is called marquetry. And so a lot of that is, you can see that in old cabinets and whatnot where, there's inlays of flowers, things like that. What I like doing is I like doing my inlays with my geometric forms, my color, my form, and my line. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, he's giving you all, and man, thank you, Justin, because I'm loving this. And for those of you that have just joined us, I'm talking to my guy, Jason LeGear, owner of Milwaukee. Man, hey, Milwaukee Humidor.
All right, third time's the charm, baby.
Yeah, man, because I'm excited. I told you on the phone, I talk to people that I'm excited about. And when I see certain things that are new to me, man, I get excited because I want to know more. And I think that type of mindset is what's got our culture growing the way it is. You got more people excited about it now, and they're wanting to see more and do more, be more a part of it. Go ahead, tell us about it. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is a good example of the kind of stuff that I like doing. It's very simple, but it's very complex at the same time. It's a lot of geometric forms, it's a lot of colors, and just kind of seeing how everything interplays with everything else. And I do designs like this constantly when I'm just drawing, playing around. Some of them don't make it past the drawing stage. Some of them I will, cut into. I will do the inlay, and I'll get halfway through it and just go, this isn't working. Or I'll get all the way through and I'll say, this isn't quite what I was expecting it to be. But some of them, the diamonds, they come through, and what it was in my head ends up being what happened, what's happening in front of me. And so this is one that I'm extremely proud of. And this is, I was telling you, I'm very influenced by the Bauhaus movement by Vasily Kandinsky, who's a Russian painter in particular. And this is something here that I think, takes a lot of the stuff that he did and makes it my own. And so what that is there is, so this is a dry box. Right there, like that.
Okay.
So that right in there, that's 100% Spanish cedar. I don't use a lot of the humidors that are out there on the market. Not your Ely Blues, not your Daniel Marshalls, anything like that. But a lot of the stuff that's out there on the market uses either African mahogany, which is called kaya, or a kind of Indonesian, Southeast Asian mahogany called a kome. And those are they're extremely you use them because number one, they grow super duper fast. It doesn't have a whole lot of flaws once you cut open the tree, and it's cheap. It's very cheap. It's not true aromatic mahogany, and they work really well in terms of regulating humidity and such. But they don't have the qualities that Spanish cedar have as the aromatic mahogany. It's not going to be trading the flavors, mixing things in the same way that Spanish cedar does. So I will tell you, I use 100% true Spanish mahogany on every single piece that I do. I have boards of it around here that are taller than you are.
Wow.
It's one of those strange things where it's just like there's so much Spanish cedar in my house that you wouldn't even believe.
Wow.
So I end up, this is something I do, these kind of artistic freeform designs. I also do a lot of things that are geometric in form like this. So this is something, do I frame? We can talk about that afterwards. I think I do. Depends on what you're asking. But this right here is something that is, again, it's very geometric heavy. It's very line line heavy. I get to explore all kinds of different woods. Now, of course, this is, you know, some ebony and some blue dyed wood. But
Mhm.
you know, I can explore stuff with, you know, things that are exotic, things that are very domestic. You can play around even, you know, several things that are the same kind of wood. That this one piece of oak is not going to be the same as this piece of oak. This piece of cherry is not going to be the same as this piece of cherry. And you can
Wow.
just kind of see all the variations. You can let the wood do the speaking itself. So
Amazing.
this is also one that I'm extremely proud of. This is a humidor that is a 75 to 90 count. Whoop. And how the all right, well, I guess we'll do it this way. How the heck how do I turn this? Oh, like that. Hey, there we go.
All right, there you go.
All
Oh, wow.
right. So so this right here is a 75 to 90 count humidor. And again, too, you got all your Spanish cedar in here. Got your Bovida holder. They include these with these Bovida holders here. They include this magnet, and I think is the greatest thing. So
Yeah, that's
a lot of them only come with Velcro. Velcro
right.
can be kind of a tricky material to work with. So I really appreciate
Right.
that they put in the magnet. But so this is again, this is bubinga, this is walnut, this is zebra woods. This is kind of a way of playing with a whole bunch of different stuff to come up with one cohesive, you know, piece.
Wow. That is amazing. That is an amazing box. And you said that one's a 75 to 90 count?
Yeah, you know, if you're smoking your Gordos and your Toros and things like that, they definitely come out on the probably closer to that 75 number. You know, if you smoke Coronas like I do, or you know, if you're smoking Lanceros, you can probably even pack in more than 90 there. I
Oh,
would,
yeah.
no surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. You could get quite a few in there. Man, that is an
Yeah.
amazing box. I think for me, when I see your work, your artistry, I always find myself now going, how the hell did he come up with that? Like, how did he decide I want to put this here and turn this? I'm amazed by it, man. I just love it. I just love it.
Well, a lot of that part of the process is putting things in there and then going yes or no. Hey, this piece right here, okay, that does fit in with everything. But if I put, you know, if I had these two pieces up here at the top and I tried to put another piece of bubinga or something here, I probably would go, that's not it. You know, we need something a little bit different here.
Let me ask
So
you, when you're
yeah,
creating, now I know you got a baby at the house, so the noise is, you got to be careful with the noise. But are you like me? A lot of times when I'm sitting around smoking and I'm thinking about something that I want to do, I always throw some music on. So if you were playing music while you were working, what would it be?
oh man. Um
What genre?
I
You don't
don't.
have to say so.
I
What
don't
genre?
even. I don't even know. I don't even know how to answer that question. There's a lot of different stuff out there. Okay, but okay. Well, let's just talk some jazz because you and I talked a little bit about jazz
Talked about that.
previously. Exactly. So I'm a huge jazz head.
Mm.
Um, Ahmad Jamal is maybe my favorite pianist. Like,
That's, that's a
he's
bad
something
guy,
else.
right?
Well, hey, he's so good at what he does, and so many of
Yeah,
his albums. He's 19, he's 22 when he's doing these things. He's
yeah,
completely revolutionizing jazz piano,
yeah.
piano performance. Because so many of his albums are also live albums. He's reinventing what this stuff is from such a young age. It's absolutely thrilling. Um, my favorite musician, my favorite jazz musician, period, is Cannonball Adderley.
Oh, you going all the way back with
His there. Okay, so on his album Something Else, where he's playing with Miles Davis and Art Blakey and I forget who the bassist is, but where he's playing with those guys, his version off of Something Else
it. Hmm.
of Autumn Leaves is, I think, my favorite piece of music, period. There's something. I heard it for the first time in high school, and it stuck in my brain and would not get out. That entire album is maybe my favorite single piece of music that's ever existed. It's so good. Other people I really like. I really like Stan Getz, another
And Dan
saxophonist.
Getz was a bad guy, man. He was.
They were all so bad. They were all so good at what they did.
You know what though, Jason? What I liked about that era of jazz. So so much of it kind of was blended with the big band kind of feel. Even when you look at
Absolutely,
artists like Quincy Jones. So Quincy Jones was one of
absolutely.
those very young artists that when he started, he was playing for people like Frank Sinatra way back. You know, he was going way back. And some of his if you listen to some of his sounds, you can tell the eras. Like when he went into the
Yeah.
late
Oh yeah.
50s, early 60s, he started infusing a lot of African drums into his music. Like he had one of my favorite songs by him is a song called Bo Bobby Da. And it came out originally in like
Yes.
60, it was between
That's
69 and
a
70.
deep cut.
That
Holy
is that
shit.
is that would be no, that's Herbie Hancock, not Quincy Jones. Herbie Hancock is what I'm talking about. Herbie Hancock
Okay.
played
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
guys, but he had the track Bo Bobby Da, and then
Yeah.
in the '90s he remastered it and put it back out. But the original version, I've heard it in so many different songs. Like when they did the Wiz, when they did the Wiz with Michael Jackson and
Mm-hmm.
Diana Ross, there was a little riff that they use. It you hear this little sound.
Yep.
You can hear that, and they started off some of the music in the Wiz because it was a musical, but it was a takeaway from Bo Bobby Da when it was originally done by Herbie Hancock back in the early '60s. I think is when that came out, and so a lot of
Do you
those
know if
little
he
things
was
I
involved
love.
with the? Do you know if he was involved with the writing of any of the music in the Wiz?
Yeah, yeah, he was. It was mostly Quincy Jones, but I believe I read that the two of them worked together on some of that music. But most of that music was Quincy Jones, and then some was Herbie Hancock.
Yeah. You want to talk about somebody whose career just absolutely spanned that. I mean, and Herbie Hancock's he's still out there performing.
Yeah.
But somebody who's my wife ended up actually going and seeing him last year. She ended up getting a ticket from one of her friends. But of course, I was very jealous. But the point of the story is he's worked in every single iteration in every single era of jazz that has existed. And you want to talk about somebody who's pushed the envelope in terms of what their creativity is, and so much of the stuff that he does, in the '80s it's pretty inaccessible to me. It's a little bit too far out there, but like I'm ready for inaccessible stuff. So for the general public, a lot of people are probably going to be hearing that and going, "What the hell is this?" And meanwhile, what he's doing is he's getting up in the morning, he's jotting down ideas
Hmm.
and he's going and he's following them. He's seeing where they're going to take him, and I think that's one of the most fundamental things that you can do as an artist and a performer. And even though I don't necessarily get everything that he does, I am absolutely in awe, and I am floored by just how he does it.
Who is it?
Herbie Hancock.
Herbie. Herbie. His again. He's crossed through so many different genres of jazz. But one
He's
of the
been
things,
there the entire time.
yeah, he was with a lot of the pioneers back in the day. With the big band music. And he's played. I think he played for Count Basie for quite some time as a younger guy. He
Hmm.
played for Count Basie. He's been with everybody, man. Like it's amazing. But to see how, because some of his music, I think when you go back to it, some of his music wasn't geared toward any particular listener. Like when you talk about color, a lot of people didn't. A lot of black people now they listen more to smooth jazz. Then you have real jazz aficionados that they're familiar with people like Stan Getz, or they go back a little bit to Bob James, who's still very
Hmm.
significant these days. But
Hmm.
there's other guys that a lot of people don't know who they are until they hear their music. like the guitarist Les Sabler, who's been around for many years, or you go back to, man, is it Bob Baldwin? All of these guys that start, Norman Connors, these guys that
Mm-hmm.
started out in the 50s, 60s, some guys that went on to be R&B artists like Michael, what was his name? Michael Henderson, who, or even,
Just
I'll give you another one,
session
Bootsy Collins.
musicians.
Yeah, Bootsy Collins was a
All
big
right,
time
now I'm with you. I know Bootsy.
yeah, Bootsy Collins, or even uh, the rocker Morrison. Um,
Van
no,
Morrison?
not Van Morrison. What was his name? He was a rocker, long dark hair. Um, he's dead and gone now.
Slash.
Yeah, that's it.
But
But Slash was
this
a
kind of
bad man
proves
on the jazz side, man. He did some
this
jazz.
this proves what you're talking about, though. You know, I consider myself a pretty big jazz aficionado, and I don't necessarily know those names, but I'm sure that if you play one of those tracks for me, I'd go, that guy. You know, like a character actor you've seen in a million different movies. Oh, it's that guy, that sort of thing. You know, you can hear it immediately.
And there's so many, like you said, there's just so many. One of my favorite guys from the 60s and 70s was a guy by the name of Michael Franks. I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Franks, but if you heard one of his tunes,
I'm
I think
sure.
he had a song called "When I Give My Love to You," and he had the
Mm-hmm.
lady Brenda Russell, who did "Piano in the Dark" in the late
Mm-hmm.
'70s, early '80s.
Yep.
She was the unknown lady accompanying him on his track, but she grew up to be a big time producer, and now she's probably 70, 70 some years old. But you
That
got guys
happens. That
like that.
happens so much.
Yeah, yeah. Or even
And
guys like now that are Boney James. People didn't know that Boney James played for
Boney
Shaka
James is
Khan. Yeah, he played for
Boney
Shaka for
James is
years.
he's somebody else. You know, he's absolutely. I don't think he quite gets the love that he deserves, or not even the love. He doesn't necessarily get the attention that he deserves.
It's coming. It's coming though. One of these days I'm
Always
gonna have a real
does.
conversation with Chevalier.
Hell yeah, you will.
I am. I'm telling you. It's
Hell
gonna happen,
no,
bro.
I'm with you, man. Raising that
It's
glass to
gonna
you.
happen.
Hell yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's
will.
gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I've had his bassist on the show. They did a song
Well, then
together
there
in
you go.
2020. So I'm close. I got 1 degree of separation. I'm right there. And I sent him a hoodie one time, and he wore the hoodie. Like, so that was cool.
You're already there.
Yeah, I'm there.
You know his bassist. He's got a hoodie that you made.
And
You're in.
he shared a cigar track of the day. I'm there. I'm there.
Hell yeah.
I gotta get him one day. I gotta get him one day, man.
All right, I'm going to encourage you in 2026.
Hmm.
I'm not even going to say get him on. I'm going to say reach out.
I'm gonna do it. I'm doing it.
That's my
I'll
affirmation
send him
to
a
you.
gift. I'm gonna get it, man. I promise you it's gonna happen. And I think
Good.
that's the thing that makes the cigar culture so special when I think about it. We have, like with the Chevalier lifestyle, we smoke the cigar, sip the whiskey, sing to the music, we savor the cuisine occasionally. I try to take all of that and bring it all together. So when I'm talking to people, I try to talk to people from all those genres and beyond, but I tie it into the cigar culture because all of those things, the spirits, the leaf, the music, it's an experience that we all can share on one level or another in the cigar lounge. It is just that simple when I
Absolutely.
think about it and stuff. But I want to ask you
Absolutely.
this. I have a question that I ask people all the time, and I want to
Okay.
ask you. When you think about cigar culture versus community, what is the difference between cigar culture to you versus cigar community?
Oh, ooh. Cigar culture versus cigar community. Okay. Um, I think that you can understand culture externally. Maybe the culture is something that's viewed externally, like, you know, what's the culture of let's say people who are really into football.
Hmm.
I'm not super into football. I really like baseball. Not super into football, even though go pack, that sort of thing. But I haven't watched a football game in God who knows how long. But I am familiar with what the culture is of Packers fans in Wisconsin. I know what that's like,
Hmm.
but I don't necessarily know what their community is like because I'm not in it. I think that the difference between cigar culture and cigar community is possibly what what the external presentation of cigars and the world of tobacco and such like that. The external presentation of that would be what I call the culture, and then the internal um, people who are within that cult, that's the community. Does that make sense?
That's exactly where I'm going. If I paraphrase that, I would say the community, all of the different facets of the community, the different sub communities within those communities come together and make up the culture as a whole. That
Right.
would be the way I would put it. Do you
Right,
think
because
that?
there's so many different aspects to cigar culture.
Yeah.
There's I even want to say, I'm slightly on the outside as somebody who's a woodworker, but I'm still very much in it in the sense that I am someone who's blue collar. I'm a small business owner. I think that's something that a lot of people who are in cigars can say about themselves. Now, do we
Right.
do things that are similar? Possibly, I do not do what a plumber does, but a plumber is blue collar. I do not do what somebody who's a creative photographer does, but they are also, a small business owner. So we can come at it
Right.
from that perspective together.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I one of my biggest things is I'm always trying to promote unity within the culture as a whole. And so I always try to reach into the different sub communities, man, to identify people that are moving positively, with the intention of uniting this culture. One of the big things that I keep in the back of my mind, the reason organizations like the PCA, the CRA, Cigar Rights of America exist, because constantly the cigar culture is under mass amounts of scrutiny in our country. And so there are interests out there that don't want us to enjoy this. And in us enjoying this, we have all types of ancillary businesses and movements and companies like woodworkers and guys like me that sell hoodies, and I sell humidors and I sell accessories. Guys that like me that have shows, guys like you that come on shows and talk about things like this. And so I'm always trying to find ways to promote a positive image of the cigar culture all the time. I don't want to spend so much. We can spend weeks and weeks talking about all the bullshit, but you can find bullshit in every job
You
from
can find
every
bullshit
day
every
that you can
goddamn
do.
place.
But it's
There's
easy
no
to talk
there's
about
no
the bullshit.
shortage of it.
There's no
So,
shortage of bullshit, but
let's
it's
let's
it's
focus let's
hard to
focus
find
on
people that
positive
talk.
iterations.
Yeah, it's hard to find that for me that's genuine. That's genuine, and that's why I created Conversations with Chevalier. So we can have genuine conversations about our journeys and where we're going, why we're doing things, in hopes that those that have the cigar culture, they misunderstand the culture and what it's about. They get an opportunity to see the people and the personalities that are within that culture, that within the communities that create this culture. That's kind of like where I'm at, man. That's my passion when I think about why I do what I do. And I don't make any money from doing the show. I just love doing the show and having the conversations. And when Michelle called me up and said, "Hey, you got to talk to my guy," I was like, "Oh, heck yeah!" I already knew, about your company, but I had never really just sat down and like looked into it. And one of the things that got me was that when I reached out to you, you were like, "Yeah, let me put the baby down."
yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
very true.
yeah.
Um,
So
yeah,
that's how I see that now. I got to do something for you. I gotta do something for you here. I was sitting here while we were talking, and I pulled up Bo Bobby Da, and I was like, man, let me play a little bit of that. And I'm gonna ask you a question to see where
Okay.
you are. I gotta get it going. Let's see, because you know it's
Okay.
one of those long songs. But whenever
I'm
I
gonna
smoke a cigar, I
I'm gonna
always
I'm gonna
go ahead.
I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna go light this bad boy up. Okay.
All right, all
You'll
right.
come outside with me.
So
So keep on playing.
while you're lighting up, I want you to think about as you're listening to this song. You're listening to the drums. You're
Mm-hmm.
feeling the groove, right? Because this is what I do every night when I'm sitting out here. When you're listening
Mm-hmm.
to groove and you're lighting up your cigar, I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind as you're listening to this. You're lighting up your cigar and getting that first draw. What is the feeling? What goes through your mind as you listen to the music? And for those of y'all that don't know, this is Bo Bobby Da by Herbie Hancock. I'm gonna pour just a little more Maker's Mark because it's getting cold out here. So for those of y'all that just joined us, I got my brother Jason LeGear, owner of Milwaukee Humidor Company, and we are having a conversation tonight about everything from jazz to cigars to cigar accessories to humidors to cigar culture and community. So, hey, if you guys have a thought about what you're feeling as you smoke and you listen to this, put it in the comments. And everybody follow everybody that's here. Let's go. I'm gonna fade that out. I don't want Instagram to kick us off. They usually they'll usually let me play music. Like I'll play something sometimes, and man, it might play for 10 minutes, and they'll never do nothing. Then sometimes I'll do that, and they'll kick me right off. I haven't been kicked off in about 6 or 7 months, but I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, then they start restricting your ability to do this and that and the other. Here, you want to see
Yeah, they get
you
out.
want to see my wintertime smoking setup?
Oh my God, that looks like snow. That looks like
That
snow,
looks
bro.
like that looks like snow. And we're supposed to get like another 2 to 3. Oh yeah, it's snowing right now. We're gonna supposed to be getting another 2 to 3 inches tonight. This is my smoking lounge.
Look at my lounge back here.
I can't. Your camera hasn't worked for me the whole conversation.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's nuts.
Anyhow,
So what did you
all
feel when
right.
you listened to that song? Tell me what you, as the song was coming on and you were lighting up. What did you feel?
You know, I think it's actually for me. It's the keyboard.
Yeah,
I think that keyboard's doing something. The drums. You know, your job as a drummer is to stay in that pocket.
right.
You get it. You get that thing flowing. That's all you got to do. There's nothing else, and it's a nice strong drum beat. You're getting it moving. It's a shuffle. There's movement there. But then that keyboard coming in. That's if the drum beat's the canvas, the keyboard is the paintbrush that's coming in there, and it's making your happy little trees. It's making your beautiful scenes. It's making your abstract designs and whatnot.
So when you
I
light that
think
cigar and you're thinking about that music, what is it? What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you light that cigar and you're thinking about that song?
the tobacco is the canvas, the flame is the paintbrush, and smoking it is the work
Yeah.
that you hang up on the wall, that you stand back and you observe. Except that this is an art piece that you get to be a part of.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. And that's what the cigar track of the day and thoughts of a classic man. When you asked the question earlier about, what is my preparation and what do I do and why do I do it? That it's really all about creating those things that you just mentioned. It's about
Mm-hmm.
setting the scene, setting a scene, the cigar industry in a different light. That shows you why some of us smoke and enjoy the leaf the way we do. Because it's not just about the leaf, it's about the total experience. It's about being a classic man as you do it, and about showing something different, that people don't see these days, class, elegance, style, what did they used to say, that certain je ne sais quoi that everyone doesn't have, you know, it's about those
Well,
things. So that's why
what do you think it is about a cigar that in itself is class and style?
I think it's the history of it. The history of the back in the day, what you saw were these. I'll say it was like a symbol of success, a symbol of, it brought about a certain regal spirit, you know, um, a very classy spirit. And for myself, in all of the time that I've been smoking maybe about 8 years now. But in all that time, it's something in the experience that brings out that guy that wants to sit back and cross his legs and just kind of think, and become one with the smoke and with the blends, as I go through the thirds of the cigar, the transitions. And it takes me to a place where I think it probably takes me to my most creative state, and it took me, I'm 58 years old, and it wasn't until I allowed myself to become a part of the cigar culture that I recognized different things about me. Because when you're smoking a cigar, you got to be patient and you got to be still, and so I start to think clearer. Over time I started, just as I'm enjoying the different flavors, like I said, I start to re-examine thoughts that I'd had in the past, and I start to look deeper into myself about what I want to do and what I want to be. What do I want my legacy to be? How do I want to be seen? What do I want to be remembered for? And in that, man, all these little small things come up. The way I dress, the way I present myself, the way I share my message, the music that I listen to, what my sons see. What type of men do I want them to be? Do I want them to be guys with their pants hanging off their ass, or do I want them to be the kind of guys that can walk into any environment and thrive because they have a basic, or they have a clear understanding, or I laid out a pathway to that. And it's conversations like these. My boys always go back and watch and they're like, "Dad, I never knew that about you. I never thought you felt this way about something." Every conversation takes you in a different space, but it's because of my love for the leaf that I'm able to experience that, and I found a way that works for me to do all those things.
That's
I
wonderful.
hope that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes absolutely perfect sense. I've thought about that a little bit myself too, just coming back to the idea of, the cigar as luxury, the cigar as something classy and whatnot. And what I keep coming back to is, cigars were always a way for the upper classes to be smoking, because it's something that requires the thing that's most difficult for me is the time, right? The time to go smoke a cigar is always a little bit difficult to find, especially during the winter, which is why I smoke a lot of Coronas, as opposed to Toros or the Robustos, things like that. It's a lot quicker. Um, it's one of those things where like if I'm doing this, I should be doing some work at the same time. So that's one thing that, the upper classes were always smoking cigars because they had the leisure, the ability to have that leisure time to be able to sit back and smoke a cigar and have some conversation and whatnot. The lower classes often smoke cigarettes because they're much faster. You have a 20-minute break at your job at work. You can't go and smoke an entire cigar at that point. Hell, you barely get through an inch. And you'd have to be powering through at that point. So for me, cigars they're very much a leisure thing. And there's something that when I am able to smoke one, I'm always very grateful because it means that I have the time to do so, which is not something I always do, not something a lot of people do. So I think a lot of people approach smoking a cigar that way. Hey, I smoke a cigar every Saturday night or whatnot. Somebody is saying, because that is my 2 hours. The rest of the week, I got no time for nothing. Saturday night, I sit down 2 hours, I pour some whiskey, I put on some music, I light up a cigar, and that is my time. I think those two things are very, very intertwined with one another.
I think another aspect of it too, Jason, is this. When you think about, like we both mentioned, that upper class and they have that time, I've always looked at it though as a way, it's like, I feel like the tobacco, the cigar is a great uniter. And you hear people use that, but I never hear them say why they feel that way. And I feel because I feel like it brings all of us, no matter what our backgrounds, together. Like you can walk in a lounge. A guy could be dressed as a garbage man. A guy could have $1,000 suit on, but you'll see these two guys sitting next to each other, and they're smoking a cigar. At some point, somebody's going to look over and say, "Hey, what are you smoking? Hey, why do you like that?"
What are you smoking?
And you find this common bond because of this in areas where these two people may never meet. They may never meet. But I've gone in the lounges, and I know a few people, and so I've smoked, with some of the greats in the cigar, space, and I've smoked with some of the regular guys. And let me tell you, when two guys are sitting, or even with some women, when they're sitting in the lounge and you experience something like that, it doesn't even matter.
It's magical.
It's magical, man. They find things to talk about. By the time you get through the first third, they're laughing. They're laughing. And somebody said, "Let me text my wife because I'm going to be late." That's what I like. That's what
I'm having too good a time.
I'm having a great time. I just met this guy. He's a Fortune 500 banker. Now, I know I work at General Motors, but right now we're talking about playing golf because it started right here. And that's
in that sense, you can say that like cigar culture has been democratized in that sense. It's something that's so much more accessible to, I guess, your common man or whatnot than say, I don't know, even 50 years ago, 60 years ago, anything like that. So
do you have guys like Winston Churchill smoking? The generals.
Or just there's still stratifications and whatnot, and I feel like a lot of those stratifications have been broken down, and it's definitely taken the hard work of a lot of people who are interested in cigars and publications like Cigar Aficionado. You can have whatever opinions about their end of the year top 25 list, but this is a periodical about the hobby, and in that sense, having something that anybody can pick up and read does democratize what the hobby is, and people can join it from any different area. There's $8 cigars that we all know how this goes. There's $8 cigars that we like more than the cigars that are $70 that arguably smoke better than $70 cigars. One of the best ones I can think of is the Aroma de Cuba, the Mi Amor. Those things are sub $10 sticks, and I've never had a bad one. They're absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a great stick. Hey, what's your thoughts on infused cigars, flavored cigars? Do you like them?
I haven't had an infused cigar for probably 12, 13 years, something like that.
Same here.
I have no strong feelings. People like them. They're like the highest selling. The acids are like the highest selling cigar
They sure
on the
are.
market. I have no strong feelings about it one way or the other. You know, there's clearly a market for it. Am I part of that market? Not necessarily.
Same here. But you know what I don't like about that when you talk about infused cigars? I hate that a lot of people say, well, those were made for women. That's not true. I'm in the lounges a lot, and let me tell you, around Dallas, these women are real smokers. I'm not saying if you smoke infused cigars, you're not a real smoker. I'm not saying that at all. People like what they like, and I respect that. But man, I see some ladies. I've learned a lot about cigars from a lot of women.
Oh,
I've learned a
absolutely.
lot. I interviewed, of course, Michelle before, who is a wealth of knowledge. I also interviewed the two women that
The
I
the wealth of knowledge.
the wealth of knowledge she is. I tell you another one. The young lady that puts on Atlanta Cigar Week, Octavia. On
Okay.
I've interviewed her on the show, and no one would know. Obviously she's a beautiful woman, but she's been smoking cigars for like over 20 years. She's forgotten more about cigars, the blends, the processes than most men know today.
Oh,
And when
and,
we
and
had that conversation,
to divide it up
yeah,
by some arbitrary men versus women thing, I
yeah.
think that's a part of cigar culture that I do not like, that I do
I,
not
I,
appreciate.
I was about to go there. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Exactly. The stratification, whatever kind of gatekeeping, you know, there's already enough. I think there's already enough dumb hobbies that men have overarching claims to that they have no right. What's another one? Like shooting guns. You know, this is for men or something. There's women out there who can absolutely you know, hit so much better than you, and
Yeah.
it's a cultural thing where you got these guys out there that want to be that want to be the biggest, the best, the alphas, all that sort of different stuff, but it doesn't mean shit. It doesn't
Right.
do anything. What it is you are selling yourself a story. You're not necessarily selling anybody else the story other than the people who are, you know, in your exclusive little club. And the
Right.
rest of people think you're a damn fool.
Yep.
And so yeah, I get people, you know, that's one thing I don't like about cigar culture is that there is this masculine bravado to it. You know, red meat and guns and cigars and stuff like that. I like a good steak. I very much enjoy going shooting, and I really enjoy cigars. But my God, I am not going to take any of those things and make them my personality
Right.
and, you know, hinge everything on that. I am so much more than that. And for I think a lot of the external ideas of, you know, what cigar culture is very one dimensional, which is really unfortunate because, like you were talking about, you know, it's a uniter, not a divider.
Right.
That there's so many dimensions to it that it often gets lost in, you know, the Andrew Tates of the world, sex trafficking women, and
Right.
being dumb with a fucking cigar hanging out of his mouth.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel the same way. And so I always remind people, and I've been in some conversations where I've heard men say some shit that I feel like, dude, did you just say that? And
Yeah.
and and I always remind them, don't forget who the main people are that have been blending cigars and giving us these flavors that we love.
Mm-hmm.
It's the
Preach it.
women with these very discriminative palates that,
Preach it.
man, they've been rolling and giving us the flavors that we enjoy way before we started enjoying, way before we were here to do it.
Tell
And I
me. Tell me
and so
about it.
I'm a big proponent of some of these organizations like the Sister of the Leaf Global Movement, who in my journey has been very supportive of me personally, you know, just in the way they share my content. I've interviewed some of the members of that organization, great women that know this business. They have forgotten more than I could ever know in this business, in this culture, in this this blessing is what I call it, because it's been a blessing to me. As a man, it's been a blessing to me. I've learned so much about myself, and I sit back and I think about sometimes all of the women, man, that have paved the way in so many ways. When you think about Mrs. Fuente, when you think about let's take her in the support of her husband and his sister Cynthia, and how they've created this massive brand.
They've
It was
created
family.
the global powerhouse.
That and it wasn't just the grandfather, the son and the grandson, and now the great grandson. It was everybody. It was the daughters. It's all of that. It's family. And I think with the culture, one of the things that I love about this culture, you see evidence of that. No matter what the company, you see that, especially some of the larger companies like Mirafell, Newman, Patel, Rocky Patel, all these companies, you see this. You see this if you're paying attention. But what I love the most, bro, is the way some of these larger companies seem to be, and I'm going to say seem to be, embracing these boutique brands that are coming in now. Because some of these owners realize there was a time when they were considered a boutique brand. They were a startup. And now, you got these companies that are coming behind them, man. There's a guy here in Dallas that has Jamon. He owns Definition Cigars. 5 years ago, he was here in Dallas. Now he's everywhere. 10 years from now, I got a feeling this guy he's gonna be one of the major brands, one of the major players within the next 5 to 10 years. He's gonna be a major player.
Oh yeah.
And so you gotta look at that. When I interviewed Carlito, he told me this in our interview. He said, Yule, because he calls me Yule. He doesn't always call me Chevalier. And he says, Yule, when I first did my first trade show, I didn't get one sale. He said, now we've been making cigars since the 20s, the late 20s. He said, when my grandfather started this thing, he said, my first trade show, I didn't get one sale. And I thought, really? Like I was, now to some people, they might not have read into that, but I did, because you got to look at what the name Fuente means to the cigar culture. For
It's
him to
everything.
say in his life, he's a third generation cigar master blender, or not blender, but owner. And he didn't get a sale at his first trade show. Come on. That's pretty deep.
That,
So,
that I mean, that must have been in what, the 80s?
yeah,
So somewhere around there.
somewhere around there.
I don't think he's old. I don't
When
think he's old
the
enough
PA
where
was
it would be
called
maybe
something
the
else.
late 70s. But yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He's what, 72?
Well,
72?
okay, but they've been around for what, 180 years,
Yeah,
somewhere around
yeah.
there.
They've been around. I think his grandfather started that they started in 22 or 23, and they were making cigars in Florida, and they were selling cigars primarily in Florida and in New York and some in Chicago, and they blew up, and then at some point his grandfather, they had to close the business down, and he was working in the fields for years to get his money back up to restart the business again. And they had this
Yeah.
big fire. They had to move to Mexico, and then they had another mishap, and they ended up in the Dominican Republic, I believe. So that, they've been through several different phases of Fuente. But even after those three major moves, before they really started blowing up, was in his era. And now you got, Carlos the third that's at the helm, and Carlito's doing his thing, and now they're really. It took this long to become this big conglomerate that they are. But the history of it. But one of the things he said, there was women at the forefront of that always.
Absolutely. I listened to your conversation with him on YouTube. That was very wide ranging, very interesting. But yeah, he talks about his mother, and he talks about his sisters, and his wife, and just the effect of it. And I think that's if you're trying to remove women from, and again, you and I are certainly not, but there are certain members of the community that are out there that try to discount that. But like, if you're trying to do that, then I can't take you seriously, I guess is where
Yeah.
I'm going with this. In
Yeah.
my own life, I'm a
Yeah.
professional artist. I'm a professional woodworker. Do you think that my life as a professional artist is you know one of extreme privilege? Nah, bro. They talk about starving artists, and let me tell you, if it wasn't for my wonderful wife and her contributions to our household and whatnot, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be able to. It's as simple as that. You know, her being my partner, her being my rock, allows me to be able to do what it is that I do, and
Yeah.
I will put her as the most important thing. No
Yeah.
question.
And man, even for me, when I started Chevalier life, I went through all of those highs and lows, those ebbs and flows with, my wife was used to me always being available, Friday night, let's get up and go out. And I remember a couple years ago, Melanie Cisco, who does some shows for Carlito, reached out to me, which I didn't know she did a show for them. She had this show, The Last Draw, right? And she says, "Hey, I want you to come on and be my co-host, a guest co-host one time." And
Hell
so
yeah.
I did it, right? I did it. It was a Friday night. And so they do it on StreamYard, bro. And we did it, and we're talking, and I'm interviewing, I can't remember who it was. It was a young lady we're interviewing, and Melanie's talking, and I'm talking to her because I'm learning, right? And at the end of the show, like right at the end of the show, she says, "Well, somebody wants to join us and kind of they want to weigh in on the show." And so we're all sitting there waiting, and up jumps Carlito. And he comes on and he says, "Hey, Yule, man, great job tonight." I didn't even know he knew who the hell I was. He told me, "Man, I've been following you for months. I remembered all of the thoughts of a classic man." And I was sitting on the screen like, you know what I'm saying? And it was
Oh
at
yeah,
that
I'm sure you couldn't close your mouth,
dude, I couldn't close my mouth.
just
I was
dumbfounded.
so I'm guest hosting because he said, "Well, the name of the show is The Last Draw, uh, with Melanie Cisco and Carlito for what day?" And I was like, "No, I didn't see that. I didn't see that." I told him,
That's why it's important to read the media packet we send you.
yeah, yeah, I told him I didn't see that in the credits. I was just excited that I was asked, I was excited that I was asked. And we laughed about that, man. After the show was over, me, him, and Mel talked for about 45 minutes, man. He was like telling me all these things he's watched on my page. And man, I'm sitting there like, when I got off, I was like, I ain't no punk, man. But when we got off the street, I was like, "Damn, man, come on, man. This guy's looking at, little old me." And so I'm always respective of, the grace that I've received. And that's why the culture means so much to me. Like, if you ever want to
Well, you pay
understand
it
why,
forward.
yeah, I just gotta. Because,
Well, I very much appreciate you inviting me on because there's a lot of different aspects to the cigar industry. There's a lot of different ways that you could
yeah,
enter it. Most people think about doing that in terms of having their own cigar blend, their own cigar brand, things like that. Now there's never been a better time I didn't say better time. There's never been an easier time to jump into the cigar market and, have a
right,
personal blend, have a personal brand, something like that. And then, lighten up dollar signs in your eyes. And a lot of, you don't think necessarily, or not you, a lot of people who are just jumping into it now think I'm going to be, the next foundation. I'm going to be the next hit thing, sort of whatnot. And that really, I think a lot of people get a very rude awakening when they realize just how much hard work
yeah,
and community it was required for a lot of these companies to get to where they are.
right. People, even the
From
things
my
people don't see when you're an influencer or you're doing shows or you're just doing posts every day. Man, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I mean,
It's a
I
lot.
have gone months before without posting anything. I'm making something the entire time. I'm making something the entire time, but it's just like I did get some advice pretty early on in my career, which, pertains to anybody who's doing any kind of artistry, but we'll just do it. It was specifically in terms of like woodworking. And that is, whatever you're doing, post one thing a day. You might not think it's interesting at all. It might just be, you shaving something down with a chisel, something like that. But other people find that interesting, especially the behind the scenes stuff. You might think it's the most boring thing in the world. You only want to show finished products, and unfortunately,
Right.
I am very guilty of this myself. I like showing my finished products. But for a lot of people, you're sharing what it is you're doing. You're showcasing what it takes to get to that final product. And I thought that was really good advice. It's advice that I have been very bad at following, but I think that was extremely good advice. You're always working on something interesting, even if you find it mundane.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you this, because we got about 15 minutes left. And
Sure.
so I want to ask you, what do you want people to know about Jason LeGear and the Milwaukee company? What is the main thing that you want people to know? Secreto Cigar Bar, what's going on? Welcome to the show. What would you like people to know about Milwaukee Cigar Company and Jason LeGear? What is the main message?
Milwaukee Humidor Company.
What did I say?
Cigar.
Company. Hey, that's the liquor talking.
Oh, that's fine. Boy, I don't want to. I've had a couple conversations in the past couple months that have really kind of altered the way that I was getting frustrated there for a little bit. Just like there's only a couple options for humidors on the market that are really that really get taken seriously. You have your Ely Blue, you have your Daniel Marshall, and then you have whatever comes out of China. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
What I'd like people to know is that, oh God, I don't know. How do I do this without it sounds like I'm smelling my own farts? You know what I mean? Like,
And sometimes you gotta smell your own parts. Sometimes you gotta smell.
no, it's one of those things where like I am not an egotistical. All right, I'll make this just gonna come out. I am not an egotistical person by nature, and so it bothers me to say things like that. But I'm coming. Here's what it is. My message is I'm here. I'm fucking good at what I do, and I'm coming. And 10 years from now, we'll see where I'm at. But 2 years ago, nobody'd ever heard of me. People are starting to hear about me now. In 10 years from now, everybody in the industry is going to know who I am. And I don't necessarily have dreams of doing large scale things, mass production and whatnot. I have dreams of continuing to make extremely good, extremely functional humidors that are works of art in and of themselves, and doing it in a very contemporary style, doing it according to my artistic practice. And the people we're going to come right back to the beginning of our conversation. The people who are going to get it, they're going to get it. The people who do not get it, that's fine. Not everybody needs to get it. If art is gotten by everybody, then what makes it any different from, a Lisa Frank folder that she had back in grade school?
Right. I agree. And it's funny. I say the same thing. Someone asked me once, when you talk about the Chevalier lifestyle, you talk about Chevalier life, conversations with Chevalier, the different mediums that I have. What is your overriding message? I say, I really don't have one. I just want people to see a guy that truly, from the bottom of his heart, loves this culture, that wants to see it move forward, that's willing to do the legwork to make it happen through our conversation. And
Absolutely.
And to continue for someone when I'm done with this, because I'm getting older, when I'm done with this, somebody that's willing to say, hey man, this guy really cared. Let me take a picture with you. Keep it moving. Because the only reason
there's always somebody coming up behind you.
yeah, and I just, Chevalier Unity is all about just that, just support without expectation. And I support a lot of people that do the same things I do. I support them. I share their stories because it's not about me being on top. It's about us all growing together. There's so many different areas. There's so many different niches within our
There's
culture.
space.
Yeah, there's space for everybody. Everybody's unique. Everybody's special in what they do. You can see my dog, he's running back and forth. My wife just let him out. But there's so many different.
Again, this entire conversation, haven't seen your screen. Don't know about you. I did
Oh
not
yeah,
know
I
you
keep
had it,
forgetting
dog.
that because I'm looking at you and I keep forgetting that you can't see me. I always get self-conscious when he starts running back and forth across the street.
Nah, bro. I've been staring at a black box for the last almost 2 hours.
You've been doing
Hey,
pretty.
hey.
I've been-
Speaking of which, you and I are essentially just having a phone conversation. But hey, I got a question for you. 'Cause
Uh-oh.
I do not know.
Okay.
What have you been smoking?
So I've been smoking. This one's a house blend for one of my favorite lounges in Dallas.
Oh, I'm sorry. You did mention that. It's the
It's
Maduro.
Maduro 7. Yeah, it's the Maduro 7. This was a 7x70 Maduro stick, Nicaraguan tobacco. And
That's a big one.
yeah, so I've been smoking. I started smoking it a little bit before we started the show, and because I wanted to, kind of get my vibe going a little bit.
All right,
But
7x70. Are you even halfway through it?
I am almost done. I am almost done because you can see me, but I've been blowing smoke like mad on him. When I get excited, I start blowing smoke, man. And so I've been. You'll go back and watch this, and you'll be able to see it.
Trust me, baby. I'm gonna go back and watch it. Here, this is what I lit up tonight. So this is from J.C. Newman's The Tampa Smokers, and it's actually is that even focusing? This is The Tampa Smokers from J.C. Newman.
Yeah, I can.
So this is the special cigar that is made to celebrate American baseball and came out with the home run humidors. So
Wow.
Drew and JC Newman were kind enough to send me a box of these guys. They're great. They're absolutely fantastic. I haven't had a bad one. They're a real nice mild medium, sort of, well, probably closer to a medium scenario, and I always describe them as there's like a real salinity to the tobacco. There's a saltiness to it. So it makes me think of like you go to the ballpark, you get a bag of salted peanuts, and you just pop open the shells, you pop the peanuts into your mouth, you drop the shells on the ground, that sort of thing. That's exactly what I get with these guys.
Baseball and apple pie type feeling, huh?
Well, just like it's that sensory feeling
Yeah.
that you're connecting with of just like a bag of salted peanuts at a baseball game.
Yeah. Yeah. And the next thing I think when you say that, a little apple pie when I get to the crib.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go see, growing up in Gary, Indiana, we would ride over to Chicago and watch the Cubs play.
Sure.
And so, you think about that. I remember those days being a kid, being out in the bleachers, and I got a bag of peanuts that you paid like 50 cents for.
Mm-hmm.
And they're warm when they come out of the.
Oh,
they have
yeah.
them
Fresh roasted.
Yeah, they're fresh roasted. They're warm in the container, and you just squeeze them, pop, let the shell hit the ground. So, hey man, you can't lose with that.
I think that's wonderful. That's one thing that people talk about in terms of cigars is just the sensory experience of it. The taste in your mouth, the smell of the smoke. Whatever it is you're pairing with it. The temperature, the day you're having. Nothing like a beautiful warm spring day, like right as everything starts to bloom, and going around for a walk and smoking a nice cigar. Or there's a park by my house that has a couple trees that are perfect distance apart for a hammock.
Hey, you know
Going
what?
there
I've
in the summer. I never had a hammock.
I've never had a hammock. I've never like sat in a hammock. Laid back in the hammock. I love I gotta make me something back here in the backyard. I know they got these things that come on these metal big metal tripods or something that you can put your hammock on and kind of sit in there. But I want to do it between two trees. I've never done it.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Is there's a park over by me where there's several trees that are all the perfect distance apart for hammocking. So go bike up, bike up there, and you hang up the hammock, bring a book, smoke a cigar, hang out, maybe fall asleep a little bit, and just like on a nice warm summer day, there's no better relaxation to me than that. So I was just saying hey to my neighbor.
My patio life here. I got a couch out in front of me here. I'm sitting in one of the chairs, but I got a nice, big, huge couch out here on the patio couch that I lay back on. I flip the television on and put it on a little Pandora, let a little jazz run around. I have a little.
It's all about that sensory experience, man.
Yeah, man.
It's what you tie to it.
Yeah, and the cigar culture is the key word that you use is experience. Whatever your experience is, that resonates with you, that's what makes this culture, this community, this thing that we do called smoking cigars, the perfect experience. It's what it is, and it's a
Absolutely.
great thing. It's a great thing.
Hey.
So how do you feel about this conversation we had tonight? Because you told me, you said I'm gonna be interviewing you. You ain't gonna interview me. You told me.
Well, do you feel like I interviewed you?
A little bit.
I feel like I poked and prodded around the edges. I would say it's very good that you're very good. You're very adept at leading conversations, and I think that is a noble quality. It shows a curiosity towards other people that you and I both share with each other, and so what I would like to do. What I would like to do is you get me back in here again in a couple months, and we can talk a little bit about Milwaukee Humidor Co. I might have a big project that's going on at that point that I can't be telling nobody about at this point, but I might be able to break it there. Yada yada yada, whatever.
Hey, let's do.
Bring me back on. Bring me back on in a couple months, and I'm going to interview you.
You can come on Conversations with Chevalier anytime you want. It's not like we don't have each other's phone number. You call me, be like, hey, you. Oh, Chevalier, whichever one you want to call me. Look, hey man, let's do something. I'd be like, okay.
but my friend, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, I got you.
And here's what happens is I'm going to come back on, and then next time I'm actually going to be interviewing you for 2 hours. Sound good?
Oh man, Michelle
Hi,
just.
Michelle.
Hey Michelle, hey, how you doing, buddy?
Hey girl, hey.
Hey girl, hey.
Thank Michelle. Michelle, if you do not know her, is maybe one that we had our first chance to meet with each other at PCA this last year, and I was immediately taken with her, and I'm so glad to have somebody as knowledgeable and as what's the word I'm looking for? Just so as personable in our industry. And she's the one who connected us, and I'm extremely thankful for that. And you know what? If we're lucky, at one point, she might be running PCA.
You know what? Let me tell you, I've been saying this for about a year. That's gonna happen. I'm putting it out there. I'll put good money on it that's going to happen, and it would be well deserved. I believe that she has vision. Whenever we do PCA over the last couple of years, the two of us, me and her, we always have some time to talk. And a guy, Sartorial Tobacconist. I don't know if you know him, but
I gotta hold on. Get finished with your story because I got a funny story from PCA that involves you and him from this last year.
All right, so whenever the three of us get together. Man, they like wear me out for about 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes, sometimes an hour about.
Oh, they're young.
They're giving me lessons, man, that you wouldn't believe about.
I believe it.
How I value myself within the culture. They always tell me, man, you're doing great things, and you gotta seize that moment. Carpe diem. They're always like right on me about that. And my first experience with Michelle. We met in person. I went to PCA for the first time, and I was scared to walk in, and she came walking up. and she gave me this pep talk that I thought I could fly. Like I thought I was gonna fly through the convention hall in Vegas the first time I went through there. You know, after I talked to her for about 30 minutes, she was like, "You can fly, you got wings." You know what I mean? And by the time she finished talking to me, I believed it. And then we met up later that night. I ran back into her and she was like, "How was it?" And I was like, "Man, I'm still flying." You know,
That's so good, man.
I'm flying. So, all right,
That's
what were
so
you
good. Okay, so I just had I had a funny run. Okay, so this last year was my first year at PCA.
gonna
So many different people I follow on the internet. You know, I'm there trying to meet people. I'm trying to make connections with brands and show my drive. I didn't even talk about the modern dry box. Whatever, we'll talk about that at some point. But I'm trying to sell them on my dry boxes and stuff like that. And from across the you and the sartorial tobacconist. I'm sorry, I do not. I only know him as a sartorial tobacconist. I do not recall his name.
Yeah, new.
ANU, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so I saw just looking at people's stories, I saw the two of you guys were hanging out together with each other.
Yeah.
And I was walking down one of the rows and I saw him coming at me. I walked up and I said, "You're Chevalier, right? My name's Jason. I'm a humidor." Oh, no. I don't know if he remembers this or not. But there was this little white guy walks up to him with a humidor and says, "You must be Chevalier." He goes, "I am not." So you and I almost met at PCA last year because I was just watching everybody and trying to introduce myself to all these people. I thought he was you, so we almost met each other previously, except didn't even come close.
Oh man, look, I'm flattered that when somebody would get me confused with somebody, especially like him, man. He is an amazing, amazing man, dude. Just to know if you ever get a chance, look, when we go back this year, I will make sure y'all meet. And if you get a chance to just hear his story, I had him as a guest on the show, and I need to add that show to YouTube. But man, he is an amazing, and I always say it to him, he's such an amazing young man with so much knowledge that it's just nuts. Like,
he and Michelle both. I think he's in his early 30s, 32, 33, and Michelle, you're what, 29?
12, like she's
absolutely not.
Yeah,
12-year-olds can't smoke no cigars.
But let me tell you something. She is. When I see her, I just see power, style, grace, and I see everything that I hope that my daughter will be when she's her age. And I mean that. Man, she is just. Michelle, I give you your flowers. I said she's 12. I know she's not 12. She walked up to a complete stranger. She only knew me from Instagram. And she walked up to me and changed my whole point of view about how I move within this culture with about 25 minutes of conversation.
All right. Well, I know we're getting close to the end, but I'm going to take that and I'm going to bring it again right back around to our beginning from the very beginning of this conversation.
You can talk.
You and I could go till midnight, no problem. But I'm working on a watch box right now for somebody for a Christmas present. So at some point I got to get to that. I gotta yada yada. But bringing it right back to what we were talking about from the very beginning, that's that community. And my overarching philosophy in life, period, and I've had this conversation with so many different people. My overarching philosophy in life is that good people should know good people. Yeah. Genuinely, if you and I jive and we're hitting at a deeper, if we're hitting at a deeper level, something along those lines, if you and I are able to connect on that way, I'm going to assume that the people that you surround yourself with are also people that I am going to jive with. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't necessarily, not everybody has to get along with each other or anything like that, but you tend to find your people, your community. Good people should know good people because good people are going to continue to push each other forward. They will support one another and just be able to provide that friendship, provide everything to one another. And I think that's the part of what it is none of us are alone in this world. We're all here together.
Right.
And for us to be able to have the blessing that it is to go through it together and to have each other's friendship, I think is one of the most wonderful things there is.
Yeah, you hit it, and I'll tell you what, you summed that up perfect, man. And let me roll my theme music. I got my favorite song here that I play all the time, and this was by one of my former guests, Philip Doc Martin. The song is called "Won't Let Go," and
Mm-hmm.
so he mentioned when he wrote this song, he asked me on the show. He says, "When you hear this, what do you think?" And I said, "You know what I think when I hear this bass group, this bass
Is
riff,
it? Oh, is it? Oh, fuck.
close." When I hear when I told him, I said, when the bass is going and it's going boom boom boom, and it says it's like won't let go, won't give up, won't let go, won't give up. Fuck it. That's what I told him. And he said, "What?"
That's what it was. It was fun. It was fucking, not oh fuck.
It's fuck it. And he said, "Man, believe it or not, he was at a pivotal time. He's a dentist every day, but he's an award-winning smooth jazz artist." And he said, "For years, I was like, I don't know if I should keep doing this, but I'll keep fixing teeth so I can keep playing music, and I won't let go. And I'll just say fuck it every time I get ready to give up. I won't let go." And that's what the song, if you listen to it, it's kind of smooth groove to listen to. And I told him that's what I heard at the end. I just hear, fuck it.
Who's that?
Is it Philip Doc Martin?
Oh, lost you. There was oh god, why am I blanking on his? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
There. Why am I blanking on his name right now? Of course, the moment you need it. There's a jazz musician who I've really been getting into recently. He was a DJ in Chicago for years and years and years and years, but he's a fairly famous jazz musician. Somewhat experimental. Why am I blanking on his name?
Not Andre Ward. I know.
No. I am absolutely going. I'm going to absolutely kill myself. He passed away last year.
Who was that?
Oh my god! I see his face. You hold up. This might disconnect me. I'm going to go.
So you guys are watching Conversations with Chevalier with my guest Jason LeGear from Milwaukee Humidor Company. We're having a great conversation about cigars, dedication. We're talking journeys. We're talking music. And we're talking about so many things. Sartorial Tobacconist, Anu. We just spent a whole lot of time talking about you, bro. He's looking for something, so I think he froze up for a second. But for those of y'all that just joined us, we've been having a great conversation. I think I just lost him, but we were having a great conversation about his journey, his company, Milwaukee Humidor Company, and we were just having conversations with Chevalier, and it's been a great thing. But we shared a lot. He gave a lot of flowers to Michelle Murkison, to you, Anu, and he told a story about how he walked up to you, Anu, and he said, "Hey, Chevalier, I wanted to meet you." He said that happened at PCA, and I was like, you got us mixed up," and we laughed about that. So I'm gonna send him an invite to jump back in. There he is.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Anu just jumped in, man. He just jumped in the comments.
Yeah. Hey. All right. I want to see if he remembers this. You and I met each other at PCA this last year, real briefly. We were walking down one of the hallways, and I walked up to you because you had just been hanging out with Chevalier, and I saw this on the Instagram because, yada, yada. It's my first PCA. I'm watching what everybody's doing, that sort of thing. I walked up to you, and I thought you were him. And I was like, "Hi, you must be Chevalier. My name's Jason. I make humidors." And you said, "I am not." But I don't know if you remember that or not, but I was absolutely mortified. But, hey, what are you going to do?
look, let me tell you, like I said, man, that's an honor for me because look, he is one of my heroes in the game, you know, and our show that we did together was, man, that was magic. I learned so much about that show. Another one, he said he remembers. He said
Oh,
it
good.
that day, he put it in the comments. He remembers that. So I knew somebody thought you were me. I would have thought that'd be the other way around. Somebody,
There's two extremely well dressed men together in a straight. You know what? Again, this is my first PCA. I'm out there. I'm spreading my wings. I'm trying to meet all these people and whatnot. And hey, you can't win them all.
well, I tell you what, man, he's an amazing guy. And if somebody's got to confuse me with anybody, confuse me with that guy. I just need maybe look. If a little bit of his knowledge just came off of his sweat and hit me on the arm, look, I'd be the man. I tell you that. You know, he's a great guy, man. That I love and respect. I mean, he's an amazing brother, man. So hopefully, when we do PCA this year, we'll all get a chance to set up. You can be
I
a
hope
part of
so.
one of those. Hey, man, when him and Michelle get me on the floor, let me tell you something. I feel like I told you I feel like I can fly after I have a conversation with those guys. Man. So,
Yeah,
hopefully
that's so
you can be a
wonderful.
part of that. We got to make it happen. So,
I very much look forward to it. So I mean, for at the very least, because it's going to be at the end of winter here in Wisconsin, and boy, oh boy, this one's getting real shitty real fast. So I'm looking forward to some nice warm Orleans vibes.
yeah, we got to do that. Well, I tell y'all what, we're going to wrap it up on that note, man. My guest tonight has been Jason LeGear. He is the owner of Milwaukee Humidor Company. Hey, he's a woodworker, but I tell you what, he's one of the most amazing artists. I don't ever want to just say a woodworker. He's an artist, man, and we just had a great conversation. For those of y'all that are just joining us, hey, hit the drop down at the top. Follow him, the Milwaukee Humidor Company. He's got some amazing designs, man. And if you get a chance, you'll see some things that are absolutely unique and beautiful. Hey, the Chevalier lifestyle is about four things. You smoke the cigar, sip the whiskey, sing to the music, and savor the cuisine. But we also have conversations that bring us together, man. And Jason, I'm so honored to have you. I feel like I've made a new friend tonight. And I look forward to having another conversation with you real soon, bro. And thank you for joining me on Conversations with Chevalier.
My guy, the honor has been all mine. I appreciate everything that you do. I appreciate you having me on, and I wish you nothing but health and success and love. And I will see you in a couple months.
All right, my brother. Anu, talk to you soon. Much love, man. Thank you for joining us. For all of y'all that watch the show, stay tuned in 2 weeks where my guest will be Jamon of Definition Cigars. You don't want to miss that. So we'll be sharing and promoting soon. Look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow with the thoughts of a classic man and the cigar track of the day. Good night, everybody.
Take care, brother.
Good night, brother.